Today on Locked On Red Wings, taking a break from player previews, who are the top 5 Red Wings on the roster right now?
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. And Scotty, on Monday, we got an email from our bosses at Locked On, and they're going to be starting a top 100 NHL players tier list. And they asked every host to submit 3 to 4 players in order who the hosts believed were the best players on their individual team, as getting a basis and kind of compiling data. And we were encouraged, and a lot of us thought it was a great idea, great opportunity to now take that idea and bring it to the people. Who are the top, and it's just an easier list if you do top 5, right? So who are the top 5 for the
throw some names out there?
Top 4 is kind of a weird amount. You either do 3 or 5 or 10. So we may expand it to the top 5.
The funny thing is, you say that 4 is a weird amount. If we were only doing 4, this would be much easier of a conversation. We actually had the most disagreement about 5.
5, yeah.
There seems to be a pretty clear and relatively consensus top 4 in the fan base.
So part 50-50 fun conversation promotion also for the network as a whole. So we're going to do the top 5 Red Wings in the organization right now. And before we get to that, I got to let people know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit FanDuel App today and start planning your future bets right now. Scotty, like you just hinted at, we had the most debate around 5. Normally, we wait until right before we reveal number 2 and 1 to go with our honorable mention. But 5 was such a tight race that we're basically giving you 6 and 5 because, our honorable mention here would inevitably fall at number 6. Right. So we had a really tough debate between whether or not Simon Edvinsson or Patrick Kane would be our 5th best Red Wing on the roster right now, because what they're asked to do and their positional values are so different. Scotty, why don't you tell the people where we ended up on the Kane and Edvinsson debate?
Yeah, we went back and forth for a while. We ultimately ended with Kane at 6 and Edvinsson at 5, which is wild. That's a great sign for Edvinsson that in going into his second full season, we're already chalking him up as a top 5 player. But I think that on the Wings, of course, I think that it is one of those situations where you are looking at Patrick Kane, whose skill set, if you were to make it like Chell sliders, everything's either a 0 or a 99 at this point. He's either, he's a black hole defensively. You can pretty much only deploy him in the offensive zone. He's nearly useless on that end of the ice. The 5-on-5 play is fine, but that's fine because that, being really good offensively and terrible defensively averages out as fine. And then he is still one of the biggest offensive zone and specifically power play weapons, literally the entire NHL, even at this point in his career. And that is, he was the focal point of a power play that was one of the best in the entire NHL last year and one of the best in Red Wings history this past season. So Patrick Kane is fantastic and is unbelievably valuable to this roster, and I'm glad that he's back. Edvinsson, I think, is a little bit more like Steady Eddie across the board, right?
Steady Eddie. Oh,
I didn't even think of. Man, I'm too good. So I think that he's a little bit more of, obviously he is going to be solid defensively as a defenseman and on the blue line. That's what you want. I think that his offensive game has been, around what we expected, maybe a little bit more than what we expected up to this point. It's not anything super flashy or he's not going to go out there and put up super high offensive zone, defenseman like point totals. However, he's really solid across the board, and you can use him pretty much in any situation, right? He's going to get penalty kill time. He's not going to get power play time on this team because they already kind of have those roles carved out, but he has before, like in his professional career. And I really think that that's ultimately what it came down to, was just role. Is Edvinsson is a guy that, as we just talked about earlier this week, or maybe it was the end of last week, in a perfect world, we'd have Edvinsson on the top pair. He would be the number 2 defenseman, the on the other side of Moritz Seider, and would be one of the more used players on this entire roster. The only reason he's not is because the rest of the blue line is brutal, not because of anything of his own doing, and they want to spread out that talent. So I think that ultimately squeaks him by Patrick Kane, and I think that's obviously what we settled on, but I certainly don't have any issue with going the other way, and Patrick Kane is obviously incredibly valuable to this team too.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't bemoan anyone who put Kane at 5 or maybe even 4 on this list either. It's one of those things where there's really no wrong answer here, but we had to come down to, what do we value more, Scotty? Do we value being elite in a couple areas or being very good across the board?
Right.
Because Patrick Kane makes this power play one of the best in the league. While his skating has certainly, fallen off as he's aged, and his, he's never been a defensive stalwart. He never has really gotten engaged in board battles, and that's not gotten any better as he's aged. His hockey IQ, which, will stand the test of time, remains elite. His stick handling remains elite. His passing remains elite. So it's like, do you go with the guy who's elite in a few categories and makes you one of the best in the NHL in one category? Or do you go with, as you put it, Steady Eddie? Somebody who you already entrusted in his first full NHL season to playing difficult deployments on your second pair. And again, as you noted, would have been on the top pair if the Red Wings had the depth down the lineup to spare him on the top pair. He played, the biggest mark against Edvinsson was just, again, that fatigue down the stretch, and the fact that he doesn't play a lot of power play minutes as of yet because Erik Gustafsson exists. He may get more in the future, but we're not putting Edvinsson on at 5 because of what we expect him to do. We're putting him at 5 based on what he does do, and he does play penalty kill, but the mark against that is a penalty kill was bad. So it's like, that's where the conversation is I can see it going either way, but we put Edvinsson at 5 here just because of positional value, really. I mean, not just because of that, but that's a big thing. Like, he's a top 4 defenseman on a team that doesn't have a lot of that. Meanwhile, the positional value of a winger is unfortunately a little bit less than defenseman and center.
Right. And again, especially not top line winger that you can't really utilize in your own zone. Like, I think, again,
you put Edvinsson in either.
Right. Kane's, again, attributes are just very dramatically one way or the other at this point in his career, which, again, is fine. And he's valuable, and I have no issue if people think that he deserves to be higher. I think Edvinsson, you said even there, top 4 defenseman. That's what he is because he has to be. In a perfect world, he would be on that top pair. So I think that ultimately is kind of what it came down to.
Yeah, I mean, it's positional value and the ability to play in any zone in the 5-on-5. I mean, those are the two biggest factors that kind of made us lean Edvinsson. And I think as time goes on here, it's going to become more and more apparent, obviously because of the huge age gap between those two players, but Edvinsson hasn't even approached his true prime yet. But that was the most difficult conversation to have right off rip, was who we putting at 5. Scotty, I think 4 is actually the easiest one. I think we settled upon 4 pretty quickly because the top 3, and the top 3 is really easy too. It's just which order do we want to put them in?
Yeah. The personnel for the top 3 is easy. The order is where it gets, you have varying opinions. But I think 4 is, probably the biggest slam dunk on the whole list.
Slam dunk, one single option, and we'll tell you who that is on the other side of this break. So stay tuned to Locked On Red Wings. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions, so whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before Week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. Personally, my pick for MVP, I got to go with Lamar Jackson. The guy's got the perfect mix of being able to throw the ball and run the ball. He is the reason why the Baltimore Ravens are ever considered to be Super Bowl champions, Super Bowl favorites rather. So visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now. because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings. Scotty, Alex DeBrincat is the guy who falls at 4 for us on the top 5 Red Wings right now. And this is a guy who was just a no-brainer. 39 goals this last season, 70 points. Really wanted him to get to 40. But, I mean, the obvious stuff here is the offense, right? You put him in the offensive zone, especially when he's on the line with Patrick Kane. They work so well together. They can contribute at 5-on-5, and they really contribute. He really contributes on the power play, right, as that one-time guy. And even sometimes put him on the net front, and he's able to perform there as well, just right there back door or from the circle. So Alex DeBrincat just seemed like with the pure scoring ability to be number 4. But I think it goes beyond that, too. I think Alex DeBrincat has surprised a lot of people in the first 2 seasons. This is something that we brought up, even his first season here, when the scoring wasn't quite to the caliber we had wanted, was that he is actually he's taken strides in his defensive game that we were told was not there. And I'm not trying to come on here and say he is, a two-way winger at this point in his career, but the effort that he shows, he clearly has taken a note to try to get better in that aspect of his game. He hustles hard. He's probably one of the players on this team that hustles the most. Sometimes too much. Sometimes his brain just goes forecheck mode and he doesn't consider the situation around him, and then he ends up behind the play. But I appreciate the fact that he is a hard-nosed player and he's not afraid to drop the gloves. He throws a lot of hits. He plays way bigger than he actually is. Alex DeBrincat is honestly, this last season, maybe been a little bit above what we were sold when we traded for him. He was more than just a guy who can score 40 goals. He was a guy who played both sides of the ice, maybe not perfectly, but he tried. This was a guy that did more than what we were sold.
Yeah, I think that the defense is certainly a floor raiser, right, for his value on the team. Like we talked about Patrick Kane in segment 1 and how his is very dramatic. He's really good offensively, but he's almost unusable in the defensive zone. DeBrincat, he's going to share a line with Patrick Kane most of the season, so he'll get similar deployment, but it is not that dramatic for him. And I think that certainly raises his floor to be more in this conversation. And then, on the offensive side is obviously his bread and butter. And this season he returned to form and produced as he produced as we wanted him to, right? It was a goal away from a 40-goal season. I think that along with kind of the improvements defensively, again, he is not a quote-unquote good defensive forward by any stretch, but I think the fact that he is serviceable in that zone now is at least a little bit of that makes him a little bit more of a well-rounded player, and you feel a little bit more comfortable with him in certain situations where maybe before you didn't. So to me, he's pretty comfortably, a notch below that top 3 of, Larkin, Raymond, Seider. But I think that he is also pretty comfortably above the rest of the roster. I really think that he is just a slam dunk number 4 on this list.
Well, and what's crazy too is he had 39 goals. His expected goals above replacement, EV offense, right? The goals he was expected to score at even strength was higher than his actual.
Yeah.
So last season, he was expected, based on the shots that he took, to score more goals than he actually got. And his even strength goals against replacement for defense improved as well. He was 24 percentile over a 3-year rolling average, but this last year he was 38, which again, not great. It's still not perfect. You want to be above 50%. He was at 38 last year, but it was an improvement over his 3-year rolling average. So he's gotten better in that regard, and that's all I'm trying to emphasize, is he has improved in the even strength defense, and that's all we can ask, is that he tries.
Yeah, so he's never going to be on the penalty kill. He's never going to be the shutdown line, put him out there when we're deep in the defensive zone and whatever. He's never going to be that, and that's okay as long as he's serviceable there and continues to put up 35 to 40 goal seasons. That's all we really ask for.
Right. Care to wager or care to guess how many minutes on the penalty kill he had last season?
0?
No. He had plural minutes.
Wow, that's probably a testament to where we were. I don't remember him on the kill ever.
So this is one of those situations where he probably accumulated it as a penalty kill went to end, and they got his line back out there preemptively.
Sure. Right,
he had a total of 2.
Okay, yeah, that's
2 minutes on the penalty kill.
I feel like that's gotta be, or he just played like one. I guess he's not gonna be out there for the whole.
Like a 5-on-3 expires, he comes out of the box, he's out there for the 5-on-4 for as he skates across the ice.
Yeah.
Or like there's 15 seconds left in the penalty kill, so they get their even strength line back out there because your guy's about to come out of the box, you're about to get back to even strength. That's the type of situation that DeBrincat would be on the PK for, not intentionally. But I just thought that was funny that he does technically have 2 minutes of penalty kill time last year.
There you go.
Scotty, now we're into the top 3. And while the order is obvious, it's Dylan Larkin, Moritz Seider, and...
The order is not
the order. It's the 3 players are obvious. Yeah. Thank you. Dylan Larkin, Moritz Seider, and Lucas Raymond. The order was where we debated. Because each of these players has one element of themselves that could make them number 1, depending on the argument.
Yeah, Raymond I think all of them have a case to be 1, really.
Right. Raymond being the first player on the Red Wings to score 80 points since Henrik Zetterberg in over a decade. Moritz Seider plays some of the toughest minutes in the NHL as a genuine two-way defenseman. And then Dylan Larkin is a center who plays in all situations and is really good at winning faceoffs. Every single one of these players has an element to their game or an argument to be made to being number 1. Scotty, why don't you tell the people where we are with number 3?
Yeah, so we went with Raymond at 3, which, none of this was easy except for DeBrincat at 4. And I think that... I think some people may hear that and scoff or be like, oh my goodness, he hit 80 points. Larkin's never done that. There certainly is reasons as to why, again, as we just stated, Raymond could have been number 1 on this team. But I think ultimately it is more of a comparison to the other 2 than it is anything against himself. The biggest thing that I think the thing that made it, what am I even trying to say? He got way better defensively last year, and I think that that's an awesome sign. And that was the biggest attribute that gave me pause about, should he be even higher on this list? Should he be number 2 or even number 1? Because not only did he have an 80-point season, he also improved pretty significantly defensively from where he was at, the first year or 2 of his career. And I think he deserves a ton of credit for that. And that is why there's a solidified top 3. And there's really no question about who those top 3 are. But I think that ultimately when you are comparing his usage and value to the other 2 players, that's where it becomes a little clearer, right? And you kind of just went through a quick rundown there. But I think that it has more to do with the comparison of the others than it does, anything about Raymond himself.
I mean, if you compare what Raymond lacks compared to those other 2 guys, it's not much. It really isn't. He played 59 minutes on the penalty kill, where Larkin played 87 and Seider obviously played top line minutes. Yeah. That's really where the line is drawn, that and positional value. He's a winger. And unfortunately, being a center and being a defenseman, especially a top number 1 defenseman like Seider, I feel has a little bit more positional value. That was really all that separated them, because Raymond is a franchise player. He is an excellent player, and in other years, maybe he's 2 or maybe 1. We're just strictly we're trying to find hairs to split on ranking these guys. So because we say Raymond's 3, doesn't mean that we are if you put him at 1, it's not like we're going to be like, that's wrong. Right. It's valid. I can see the argument, but for us, he is 3 by 1 split hair. A hair. He is he plays top line minutes. He plays the toughest minutes on the team because he's on forward line 1. So of course he does, because they shelter the second line. They get bulk majority defensive zone deployments. As you noted, Scotty, he's been playing a lot better defensively. In fact, he was a 93 percentile defensively this last season, which is insane for him for how far he's come. Plays power play unit 1. He's great on it. 80 points. There's not much to say against Lucas Raymond, so that it comes down to which position has more value. And it's just center and number one defenseman has more value than number one winger in our eyes. And that is a very fine line to walk. It's not the gap there is very small. Like I said, it could go next year, he could be number one. But for us right now, he's number three just simply because of that, really.
Yeah. It's the situations, and they're all kind of used in all situations, but which is, again, why they're the clear-cut top three. But I think that ultimately it comes down to the again, like specific situations that they are all trusted in. And I just think the other two have, I don't want to say like more responsibility. That sounds too dramatic, but I think that is something that obviously matters.
Yes. Scotty, we're going to do another break. When we come back, we'll talk about number 2 and number 1. So stay tuned to segment 3 of Locked On Red Wings. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the candidates faster. I've been in that spot when I need to hire like yesterday, and the pressure is on, and every day without the right person is a setback. That's why using Indeed's sponsored job posts came in handy. Coming out of COVID, it really helped us at the LCA team store back when I worked there, staff the store and all the little outlets around the building with enough people to deliver you the products you guys love whenever you go to the Red Wings games. So now you can speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed is all you need.
Indeed it is.
Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. All right, Scotty. Number 2 is somebody that the bias in me desperately wanted to put him at 1, but I had to sit back. And I had to take the bias down. I had to go, okay, Brian, let's be so for real right now. Who probably deserves to be at number 1 as of today? And that I came to my decision, and that left Moritz Seider at number 2. And this is a guy I really wanted at number 1. Are you laughing because I said so for real right now?
Yeah, dude, I can't
use Zoomer
stand
slang?
you. I absolutely can't stand you. This guy just rolls up here and says, I leaned back and told myself, Brian, be so for real right now.
Well, that's the life of a podcaster. So, Scotty, Moritz Seider is our number 2. Again, we talk about how thin that line is for all of these players. He is a number 1 defenseman who plays both sides. He's a two-way defenseman who is asked to play some of the most difficult deployments in the league and still manages to score between 45 and 50 points season in and season out. Plays on the power play unit 1, plays on penalty kill unit 1. There is literally not much more they could ask out of Moritz Seider, and he delivers. He is quite simply, if not number 2 on this hockey team.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of put it perfectly there. You know, we were picking hairs with usage, and ultimately Moritz Seider is PK 1, power play 1, and at 5-on-5 not only gets the toughest deployments on the Red Wings, he gets some of the toughest, if not the toughest deployments in the entire NHL. You literally, like actually cannot make a player more prominent or give him tougher minutes in the entire NHL. He literally, there's an argument he has the toughest night-to-night, job in the entire league. And he does that while, as you mentioned, putting up around, 45, 50 points offensively. He's great in both zones as that number 1 defenseman. He plays a boatload of minutes. And I think something else that matters, he has never had a solidified, guaranteed partner in his entire NHL career.
Mm-hmm.
He obviously got the revolving door. He got a little bit of Edvinsson last year, and that went super well, but then they had to move him down. He's probably has more minutes with Ben Sherratt than anybody else in his entire career. That would be his
partner at this point.
Right. And so that is again, that's just, I think, a testament to how great he is, that It doesn't matter. Wallman, obviously that lasted a while, him and Wallman, and that worked really well. It doesn't matter who he plays alongside. He is going to be one of the best players on the ice, no matter who they play. And he's going to be one of the most valuable players on this team, hopefully for a long time.
And just to have data that backed it up, because when we were doing the player previews and we did the episode about Seider, we talked about how he has some of the most difficult deployments. It's something we've covered extensively on this podcast, but I understand people who don't listen every day may not be privy to the graphs that we've shown in the past. Somebody asked how we know Seider plays the most difficult minutes. You can't just say that. And I replied, I was like, I appreciate you guys asking. According to Puck IQ, Seider led the league in time on the ice against elite competition, in 627 minutes of his ice time was against elite competition. That was more total ice time than any other defenseman in the NHL, making up 41% of his overall deployments. Only 5 more defensemen with at least 100 minutes played a larger percentage of their total time on the ice against elite, and among those, Seider had the most overall minutes played. So he was the sixth most by percentage of his time on the ice, but still the most overall, as in those players played more minutes. One of the people they brought up was Werenski, because he does play both, and he does play both well. Werenski averages more time on the ice than Seider, but often with more favorable deployments, like starting in the offensive zone. Werenski has a 57%, 43% split between offensive zone and defensive zone. So 57% of his deployments come in the offensive zone, where with Seider, it's 45% in the offensive zone and 55% in the defensive zone. So, when we talk about how he has some of the most difficult deployments in the NHL, trust me, I spend a lot of time just looking at data points for Moritz Seider because I am so high on that bandwagon. And yes, I recognize that gives me a bias, but I back my bias up with data points. So
yeah, no, I think that's really all that needs to be said. He does that and still produces and still is one of the best players on the ice every night.
Anyways, Scotty, that leaves us with number 1, and I think at this point everyone has predicted who it is. Scotty, why don't you tell people why we love Justin Holl?
Yeah, it's Matt Luff. I think
Matt the dog. It's Joachim Anderson.
It's Giovanni Smith. I think that
there it is.
I almost feel like there is, I'm going to call it Dylan Larkin fatigue amongst the fan base, where people are when he was young, it was, there was a lot of hype and whatnot. And then he reached kind of the peak over the last few years. And I almost feel like people are almost underappreciating him now because of what he...
We're having a little bit of a Mitch Marner effect here.
Yeah, okay. Well, you said it, not me. I think that it's just one of those situations where you see someone be a fixture on the team for so long, and he has been consistent with his production for many years at this point. And I feel like there's, the shiny new players coming up through the system, and we're all really excited about those. And there's almost a little bit of, do we forget what this dude brings to this team when he is on the ice on a night-to-night basis? This is a number 1 center that is good in the face-off circle, plays penalty kill, plays power play, one in both of those if you want, and is good in the defensive zone, is good in the offensive zone, and on top of all of that, if he plays 82 games, is going to be around a point a game production. That, everything that I just listed there, those don't grow on trees, man. That is not something that you can just find, or if Dylan Larkin, left the Red Wings tomorrow, that you would just be able to easily replace, or you wouldn't feel, that presence, gone. That is incredibly valuable. And there's a reason why that they have all the moves they have kind of made are, I don't want to say built around him necessarily, but I think that they are all with the notion in mind that Dylan Larkin is going to play and be deployed in literally every single situation you can fathom on any given night.
He is he is an every situation center, and that is incredibly hard to find. And I think Dylan Larkin fatigue is a great way to put it, where people take what he brings to this team for granted. Like, this is
That's not even mentioning the off the ice. He's been the captain for multiple years now and is very clearly the leader of the locker room.
Well, and they show the graphic every once in a while, this team's record when he doesn't play, when he's hurt.
Yeah.
Like, they're awful because he is their best player. He plays the most important position on the ice outside of probably goaltending. Skater, let's say most important position for a skater on the ice in center, and number one center at that. He's got 4 straight years of scoring 30 or more goals. Each season he has just, with the exception of this last year where he had 70 points in 62 games, or 82 games rather, he is on average 8-point-per-game player. He has not had a face-off percentage below 54% for 3 straight years, and it's been over 4 years since his last year with under 50% where he face-off percentage, as the number one center who plays bulk defensive zone deployments because the second line gets sheltered deployments, power play unit 1, penalty kill unit 2, is great defensively because he's a two-way center at that. Like, Dylan Larkin does literally everything you ask him to do on this team, and in the most important position on the roster. He is your best player. Like, it's just, I understand.
He's your go-to face-off guy. You know what I mean? Like, there's, again, if you're in the defensive zone and you need the puck, you're sending Larkin to the circle. Like, he is this team's number one choice in almost every single situation for a reason.
And it's like, I understand, again, going back to what we were saying earlier, like, you can make this is by a hair. I can make an argument for Seider, I can make an argument for Raymond, but these are the reasons why we settled on Dylan Larkin as your best player still. He is year in and year out your most consistent player playing at a high level. Now, if you want to bemoan this team for not making the playoffs despite that, that's a different conversation. But in our opinion, Dylan Larkin is still the best player on this team because that's high level in the most important position.
Agreed.
All right. Scotty, any snubs? I mean, obviously we talked about Patrick Kane. He's our number 6, so I guess you could make an argument he's a snub. But
I mean, I don't really think so. I think it's relatively cut and dry here. I think really the only player that you kind of have a question mark around is just Marco Kasper, because you have one full season of data, and if he takes a big leap forward in year 2, then obviously there's a chance that he maybe at least enters that conversation. But I think, from where we stand right now, the summer after his first full season, I think it's relatively cut and dry who the top 6 are, I'll say.
Right. I think that's the biggest part is the what we've seen versus what we expect to happen. I expect Kasper to be in that conversation, but we have one full year of data under him, and it's not even a full season necessarily either. So
what would Gibson have to do this year to
not be a pile of garbage? The bar's pretty low.
Well, to pass, Kane and Edvinsson. Like, what would Gibson have to do this year to be a top 5? Like, if he's a solid, top 10, 12 goalie in the NHL this year, then I think there's a real argument that he's immediately in that conversation.
Give me 47 games, stay healthy, and have a save percentage around .908. Yeah, I think that gives you in the conversation. Sure. That's a big ask, though.
And then again, Edvinsson's young. He could take a big step forward. Kasper could take a big step forward. Kane, we're kind of just going year to year with his production and what he could do. There's a lot of variables, but I think right now I like our list.
I like it too. Scotty, and be on the lookout for the top 100 by Lockdown NHL. That's what spurred the whole conversation. They asked us to give our list of top 4 Red Wings, and we thought, hey, that's a fun conversation for August. Let's do that with the people. Scotty, any final thoughts?
We ball.
We do ball. We'll be back with a new episode on Friday with a special guest, Jake Rivard, making his reappearance on the Red Wings lore. So stay tuned for that. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.
Every day.